Hello, YouTube and YouTubers. So this is Shari with another live video of just my opinion. Before I get started, I'm going to ask you to hit the subscribe button, like and share with your friends, pass it around, watch, pass, as it were. The title of this video, Stop Apologizing. It's been 3 hours since I saw this article on the public vomitorium. Fact, well, got another article out of Australia to confirm that what I was reading is correct, and unfortunately it is correct. There is a school in Australia making young boys and men apologize for being men. Well, yeah, this is totalitarianism at its best. Basically, making little boys and young men convicts of crimes they did not commit. It's that existentialism that people have been talking about in the news and social media of just for existing, just for taking up oxygen and expelling carbon monoxide that trees need to breathe. That is their life force. Just for taking up oxygen, men are now being asked to apologize. For what? It is not right that little boys have to pre-apologize for crimes, perceived crimes, or potential crimes. It's all this precog nonsense. It's nonsense. It's mental castration of men. It needs to stop. Yesterday, I was going to go live because I happened to see a public vomitorium post on someone's social media wall, how she is planning to feminize, make her son a good feminist. Isn't that called a woman? She turning her son into a woman? Yeah, that's her business. You can leave your comments here regarding that. That's her business. What is outrageous is in a publicly funded school, even if it's overseas, even if it's in another country, you think it's not coming here? Where men, just for existing, just for have been birthed, they have to apologize for crimes that they did not commit, yet they are being convicted of. Well, men have the potential of raping a woman. Yes, they do. Women have the potential of raping other women. Are we going to get scores of women in the shame circle with other women sitting in chairs, pointing and screaming, "It's her fault. It's her fault. Shame. Shame." Is there going to be an aunt in the back ringing a bell? Or is it just men that need to be castrated and castigated and cast before swine like pearls? This is getting ridiculous. It is getting out of control. Men are necessary to the survival of women. And I know there's a bunch of pubic hairs spontaneously combusting right now just because I've said that. Men, I'm going to repeat this, men are necessary to the survival of women. Men go out and face the dangers that we can't because we cannot protect our offspring and fight the dangers off at the same time, not effectively. It is very difficult to hold our children protected with one hand and have to fight off dangers with the other, where a woman without children or a man sent out to defend the women and children can use both hands to fight can swing a sword from both hands, can pull a bow, an arrow with both hands, can hold a blade and shield with both hands, where a woman, her main concern is protecting her children. So, yes, men are necessary to the survival of our species. And turning men into women will not make women who, unfortunately, some may have been victimized by other men, but innocent young boys and young men who are blameless, have not done anything wrong. Again, going back to precog, you cannot punish somebody for a crime they have yet to commit. You can't do that. You cannot do that. You cannot shame. You cannot castigate. You cannot castrate a man. Men are necessary to our fundamental survival. Men are necessary heads of the household. Do you ever watch that one movie? It was, I try not to say names of movies on here because I don't know, not quite sure the copyright limitations on YouTube, but this young woman wanted to marry outside of her Greek faith, if that gives you a hint of the movie. She wanted to go to school. She goes, Mom, I can't go to school because Dad will say no, and he's the head of the household. The mom, the actress, very well written line and very well performed line. And the mom responds to her daughter and says, yes, the men are the head of the household, but the women are the neck, and the neck can turn the head any way that it wants to. So before you cut off the head, remember that the neck is nothing without it. We are not doing ourselves any service of gratitude and protection and longevity of species by making men less than who they are. Masculinity is not toxic. Assholes are toxic. Masculinity is not. You want to get into a talk with me about misogyny? Well, don't listen to any of my jokes off camera, the ones that I laugh at and enjoy, and will often come up with on my own. Frankly, I guess I was very lucky to have grown up around bikers and hillbillies, and at some point in my life, druggies, people who rode Harleys, people who were, by all intents and purposes, misogynistic because I actually grew a thick skin. I was actually able to hold my own and turn it back on them. I was able to be the neck to the head and spin them in a different direction away from me to deflect. I You would be amazed. You would be amazed at how thick a personality a person can develop when they are around intoxicated, drugged up, high wired for days kind of people. What kind of skin that an alligator would be jealous. It's just one way to describe it. You need to develop a thick skin around men. Now, as far as the original topic, what I started talking about, this school in Australia, making young boys and young men apologizing just for existing. We are not Amazons. Women are not Amazons. We're not Amazonian. We do not need to destroy men or crush them under the heel of our foot. We need men in our lives the way men need women in theirs. And I'm not talking about sexual relationships. I'm talking about emotional relationships. Because I don't want someone to start writing. Well, you can write comments, whatever comments you want. They can get deleted later if I don't like them. We need that yin and yang balance of the male female interaction and relationship in order to be whole people. Let's forget about circumcision. Right now, what we're talking about is male genital mutilation, either literally, which I hope it never comes to that, or figuratively, like mentally castrating men, making them ashamed to be men, wanting them to be more like us. Why? Why we women have the corner on the market. Women are in many ways far superior physically and mentally to men. And those things in which we cannot do and what things that we were not built to do, men were made to be far superior than us. It is disgusting what is happening to men. It is disgusting to think that in order to be a feminist, in order to be a kind and gentle man, you have to renounce your man card. You have to apologize for the trauma that you didn't do, for the crime that you did not commit, that you have to be hung on a cross and put on full display and lashed in order for somebody who was unfortunately victimized. It is unfortunate when someone is victimized. I'm not going to get into my own stories because my own stories are mine, are very personal. And what happens to a person that is victimized, it's an intimate act. It's a horrible, traumatic, cruel, but intimate act. And just because somebody has had the same thing happen to them, they haven't a clue how you internalize it yourself. And going out and finding effigies, as it were. Well, I can't find the man who did this to me at this when I was this age. That man died of cancer. He's gone. I've got to find somebody who was similar to him and take it out on him. Isn't that what serial killers do? Isn't that what we learned watching those crime shows? That serial killers, people who are victims of trauma themselves often go out and find a replacement or a stand-in for the object of their hatred and their pain. It's like, well, this person is no longer available to me, so I'm going to work on the next best thing. And women who are victimized, there's no wrong or right way to victimize somebody. When you are victimized, you carry that pain around you like a change purse filled with a million pennies. It feels like it's dragging you literally and figuratively to the ground, through the ground, below the earth, to an early grave, and asking somebody who did not hurt you to carry that pain for you and take responsibility for you. Like, what are you thinking? They're not Jesus. They're not another man on this earth is not here to absorb somebody else's sin. After a while, it gets to be a time where you just open that change purse and very bravely, trust me, it's an act of bravery to open up that coin purse with a million pennies weighing you down. And even if it's once a day, taking one of them out and letting it fall down the drain. It is so wrong to take those pennies out and throw them at other men. It's not their fault. They did not do that. And no matter if you have as many pennies in that change purse as there are stars in the universe, throwing it at other men still not going to fill that hole, not going to heal that wound, not going to make that scar disappear. You're still going to have that pain because deep down you're a good person and you realize that that is not the person who hurt you, no matter how many times you convince yourself that making them less than you somehow makes you feel better, but it doesn't. I have a daughter and a son, and I will not allow them. I mean, they're grown. They're grown. They're gone. They make their own decisions. I will not stand idly by and help create a world that demonizes one to glorify the other. I will not serve at that table. And watching innocent young boys and young men, I bet they were crying. I bet when these little boys were paraded in front of the school, made to stand in public in a group, almost like on a stage, I guess it would, you'd call it. They were put up on a stage and made to apologize for some pain other people suffered but did not commit. That is like saying, well, this this person over here was killed by this other person, but the jury lets them off. Just hypothetically speaking, somebody was killed. The person who actually committed the crime doesn't doesn't receive any sort of punishment. So what happens is an effigy. If they can't get a hold of the original person, the people suffering the pain from the death will find some sort of effigy, some sort of outlet for their pain, thinking that it's going to make everything better. But for somebody who has been victimized, I can speak from experience here. Somebody who has been victimized in their life, there are never enough stand ins to take that pain away. You always feel it. It's always there. It's always beneath the surface, like a tapeworm, or I don't know what crawls beneath the surface beside the tapeworm. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. It's that itch you can't scratch. You can dig down deep and you can hurt yourself to get it to it. You have to open up that wound to do it, but there's no satisfaction in the act. No matter how many men, no matter how many men you are cruel to. And this is where this comment gets me in trouble with a lot of my friends. Okay, let's say I asked them, let's say hypothetically, I was victimized at some point in my life, which again, I'm not going to share my story. It's not necessary to this one. And I decide that what was done to me was absolutely horrible. It never should have happened. It should have never been allowed to happen. And if it was sanctioned, it should never have been sanctioned. Now I get older, or I grow older with my life, and I decide to do that same thing to somebody else. Is the excuse that it happened to me good enough to be excused for? Is it good enough that because this thing happened to me, now I've done this same thing to another person because it happened to me? Am I not justifying the filth that happened to me? Am I not giving credibility? Am I not making allowances to the person who victimized me? Because now I am perpetuating that. I am justifying it. I am validating that horrible train of thought and that action by carrying it out on somebody else. And wouldn't shaming little boys, making them feel bad for being a little boy, for just breathing, be an awful act? I can hear comments out there somewhere in the universe of women saying, well, if we get to them before they get to that age, then another woman won't have to worry about it. But that doesn't fix your pain, does it? Because you're still carrying that around deep below the skin like a vaccine shot, and it itches. And the only way you can get down to that itch, make it feel good for at least a second, is to open up that wound again, let it bleed all over you. And It only feels good as long as you keep opening that wound. And that wound never heals. You have to, you have to, what I do, what I do is I just let it itch. I let it itch. Got a lot of itches that have happened to me over time. There's probably more to come in my future. It is only the people involved who are responsible and will lay across their own cross and walk up to their own gallows for their crime. I'm not asking others to suffer along too. It's almost like, well, you didn't catch them before they died, or you didn't catch them before they got away, or you didn't convict them while you had the chance. So now I'm going to transfer my feelings about it to you. Now you are personally responsible, which again is BS. It is it's a horrible thing to be victimized. It is completely unnecessary to be a victim. Victimization is what happens from an external source. Being a victim has an internal source. It's what we do to ourselves. You don't have to do that. Stop scratching that itch. Let it go. Let it squirm around beneath the surface, especially if it means opening up wounds. Not only hurt yourself, but give yourself license to hurt other people that don't deserve it, who didn't do it, and have no intention of ever being that person who hurt you. Granted, telling somebody, why don't you just get over it? It just happened such a long time ago. My reaction to comments like that is like almost being dumbfounded. So I'm not going to tell other people to just get over their pain because you never get over it. It goes from being, it's like one of those light dials, instead of flipping a switch, you have to turn the dial down, the dimmer switch. The pain from trauma is like adjusting a dimmer switch. Never goes away. The electricity doesn't ever stop flowing through it. It just doesn't hurt as much on some days as others. And you continue to put one foot in front of the other. You try to make your life a little bit better. You try to make life a little bit more bearable for yourself, because you can't fix others before you fix yourself. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Once you get yourself straightened out and situated and your head on right, then you figure out how to take your pain and help others through theirs. It's the only thing you can do with it. All you can do with the knife that was used to mutilate you, all you can do is pull it out and carve a better future than the one intended for you. In that act of violence, in that act of horror, in that second that seems to last the length of eternity. All you can do is take the tools used against you and build a better future, a better outlook for yourself, for others, and the world, without using them to destroy people you think have the potential of doing that to you or to others. But it is not for you to decide nor to judge. And with that, this has been another live video of Just My Opinion. Again, if you enjoy watching these videos, hit the subscribe button with the little bell icon and let you know when I pop in another button to the video verse and start talking with you. A lot of people, I've been telling them to write to me. I've been getting responses at my podcast email, just.my.opinion.podcast2020@gmail.com. Also have a Cash App ID. It's dollar sign, just my opinion, 2020. That helps. I'm hoping to move out of this closet and come out into an actual studio one day. Fingers, eyes, legs, toes, everything crossed. It happens. Thank you for watching, the people who have popped in and out of the door to see what I'm saying. These videos aren't planned, they're not scheduled. It's just when I get a wild hair across my hat and I need a place to vent. If you would like to comment on my video cast or my podcast, you can also find me on all the podcast streaming platforms, just my opinion. You can comment there, you can subscribe to me there. A lot of what I'm saying here will also end up in an audio version. Appreciate the time. Thank you for subscribing, and you have a wonderful day.